Learn to paint loose flowers in watercolor. Here's a quick, small study I did to test out my color and design. You can see it's mostly primary colors. That's red, yellow, and blue, and I mixed some into green and purple. My finished painting is pretty, but it doesn't have the freshness of the study. If you start with the plan or outline, make sure it has a nice variety of shapes and sizes and colors. Working loose means working on damp paper. You could wet the whole paper to start, but I want a little more control, so I'm only going to wet the areas I'm working on. The wetter the paper is, the more the paint will spread out. I just want a little spreading, so I dab the wet area until it's just damp. You can also use a misting spray bottle to wet areas, and you'll mostly see me doing that. Damp paper lets the color spread just a bit, and it gives you wonderful soft edges. The first wash of color will be light in value. I'm starting with yellow. You can dry your painting between the colors if you don't want them to blend together. Next is red. This is Quinacridone Red, which is kind of pinkish if you water it down. Be sure to keep the colors light in your first wash, but do try for a little variety. If you use more paint or more water with each brush stroke, you'll get variety in different areas on each flower. I also dot a little red into the bottom of this yellow while it's still damp for a little bit of orange. Well, that's the red and the yellow. Next comes the blue. I mixed cerulean and phthalo blue together. It makes a beautiful robin's egg blue. Did you notice that I'm not doing individual flowers? I do groupings of flowers of the same color, not just alternating the red, yellow, and blue. Now that the first wash is on, I'm mixing red and blue to make a purple. Phthalo blue plus red makes a great purple. And you can make some purple more red and some purple more blue. And I'm also getting out more paint because this second wash is going to have thicker, more concentrated color. You want to keep your flower colors and your water very clean. This blue is still wet. I'm dabbing in a darker blue and then some purple. That's a nice look for any spiky flowers like lavender. I'm also adding a little purple to the side of some of the yellow flowers, but don't mix them together. If you mix yellow and purple, you're going to get brown. If your flowers are too wet, dry it. You can use your misting bottle if you want to soften the edges, and then paint on dry paper for better control. In this second layer, you can darken up, not your flowers, but around the flower shapes. When you add darker color behind some of your main flower shapes, it gives them definition. You don't have to fill in the entire area. You can leave some unpainted bits because we'll put in a bit of green at the end. When you think your colors and values are good, now we can finally add some detail to the flowers. Once again, you can wet the flower first or use a misting bottle to keep that loose look. Outline a few edges, but don't outline every flower. Mainly, you want to outline the little areas between the flowers where there's two flowers together. Last, I'm adding more thick yellow to some of the yellow flowers around the edges that have faded out. To add a couple leaves and stems, this is optional, but if you mix your blue and yellow, you should make a good green. If you want a dark green, mix a little of your leftover purple into your green. Don't add too many leaves. Your painting is about the flowers and not the leaves. Some dark stems can give you directional lines, but like I said, they're optional. The middle still bothers me, so I paint around a couple flower shapes. If anything looks too dark, re-wet it and dab up some of the paint. See how I picked up that color and moved some up to the top? That's about it for the flowers. For the vase, I'm wetting the vase, and then I mix some of my leftover colors together and paint around the edges with leftover color. That way the vase will match your flowers, but it doesn't distract from the bouquet. For the foreground, I'm using more leftover paint to add a bottom around and under the pot. You can keep playing with your bouquet just about forever, but you'll find greater success and better practice if you do a lot of quick studies. It helps you plan your flower size and your color placement. And your friends would love some cards. Quick studies turn out fun and fresh, and they can be done on student-grade paper. Happy painting!